Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another matchup from the Southeast Asian GMPGL Grand Finals held in the Philippines, held during the week of Typhoon Ion. So shout out to the Philippines again. Sorry I couldn't bring the replays out to you in such a short order, but hopefully you'll forgive me. But anyways, this is actually the second to last match. There's only one match after this, and funnily enough, there are no actual replays of the Grand Finals. So I don't even know if this is a matchup from the playoffs, so this might still be groups. So the matches, I think, are uploaded in a bit of an odd order. But this is going to be a match between SVRES and iDeal.Gigabyte. And we'll see who comes out ahead. SVRES definitely a bit more experienced, but they definitely replaced a lot of their old players. Only EE is the player that I remember. And of course, that's not Eternal Envy. That's just EE, but I remember heroes like Nakat and stuff like that. So we'll see how this goes. Or Nakam, actually. But just looking at these teams, again, Drow picked in a very high priority. And if you look at the Scourge lineup, they don't actually have a late game carry here unless Stormsphere gets a ridiculous amount of farm, and that's why Stormsphere is going to go into the top lane. But Puck versus Quap, I think very slightly favors Quap if she manages to get to advantage because she has a bit better of a base animation, has a bit more damage, but can't really trade hits nearly as effectively as a Puck because Puck does have the phase shift. So this is very much a skill-dependent matchup, and there's already two couriers on the field. Nobody's rushing the bottle, so it all just comes down to last hits. Puck actually picks up a circlet to get himself a bit more HP, and Quap picks up an early magic stick. Puck doesn't really spam spells until he hits level 2 or 3, so this magic stick really not going to function too well. But just looking at the rest of the heroes, yeah, you can say Sentinel do have better late game. They have a Drow, but they have the Scourge have heroes who can get in the Drow's face. They have a Storm Spirit who can initiate, and keep in mind the Drow in the Filipino scene does not rush the BK, they rush the Lothar's edge. So if Storm manages to get off to a good start, which he should because he is going to be safely in farming, then this Drow will be in a lot of trouble once mid-game comes around. So we'll see how much Drow can do. Is going to pick up Wraithband and 2 branches, so try and get as much last hit damage. They know Drow in the early phase does have a bit of a difficult time last hitting. But this Puck going to be very interesting. I don't know who can actually kill it on the team because by the time Drow gets points into silence, Puck should have a dagger. Unless Quap managed to crush the lane, but Quap already taking some early game harassment. The creep block went extraordinarily well for Puck, and actually Queen of Pain already down to 3/5 HP. There is a illusion rune being hunted down by Spirit Breaker, but Spirit Breaker support not really the best option as level 1 Shadow Strike. That is a huge mistake, and Quap might very well die. She will die, pop the magic stick, but that did absolutely nothing. She had a bit more stats. She could have escaped. If she had a salve, she could have escaped. So big mistake by the Quap for opening item build. Overestimated her harassment potential, and she paid the price. 1 charge on the magic stick, only 15 HP. Definitely not worth her life. So already off to a bad start is this Queen of Pain. Puck already level 3. Meanwhile, Queen of Pain not even halfway to level 2, and this is very much a skill-dependent matchup. Bottom lane, Windrunner won't really be able to get too much done because Drow, of course, can punish any overextension with some Frost Arrows, and Jakiro has such long range that if they manage to catch a Windrun who's Windrunning, then Windrunner is probably dead, even though Jakiro does have very short range. Spirit Breaker support can't really gank the mid lane because Puck has phase shift, and he can't really gank the top lane because Shredder really can't do that much damage until he manages to hit level 3 and 4, and Spirit Breaker would have to charge all the way across the map in order to make that happen. So this is looking very grim for the Sentinel already. They do have the Drow late game carry, but a Storm Spirit who initiates could potentially kill off the Drow, and Drow, if you get in her face, their damage output is reduced by a great amount. Puck gonna take some tower shot damage, is forced to use the phase shift. Gonna have to be careful because here comes Spirit Breaker charge, but this is Spirit Breaker level 2, so he does have a bit more damage coming in. Didn't get any greater bashes, unfortunately. And now who's gonna get the rune? I don't know who this favors. No bottle charges, but Queen of Pain does have a Tango. Will she be able to use a Tango as Puck does set up for Manfred? At least 2 orbs. Gonna get 1 orb. Puck will be able to escape for now, but Queen of Pain will escape as well. And we'll see circles around. Puck can't go back to base. He has no bottle charges. And Spirit Breaker, decent base movement speed, but doesn't have that point to powering haste. Queen of Pain did just manage to regen enough, so he does survive the illusory orb. So very, very good news for the Queen of Pain as she managed to recuperate some of her costs. But I still think Puck does have a slight advantage because he did get the first blood, and he could get back in lane a bit faster, even though Queen of Pain did get a nice higher level kill because Queen of Pain will have to go back to base, only had a Tango, and unless the bottle is coming in, which it isn't, actually it is. So Queen of Pain got to be very careful. Flying Courier will be picked up. Again, this is 678 Courier, not 679, so you can upgrade it ASAP, and Queen of Pain looks like she's just going to ball curl back up, but meanwhile, Puck has managed to solidify the experience advantage, and it's going to force a rotation by the support who really can't do anything to a Puck. So I think Puck is still favored in this matchup, and we'll see. Queen of Pain just finished the boots, didn't have that extra bit of first blood gold to back her up, but now this Scream of Pains will be used, going to be dodged nicely by the Queen of Pain, was not baited out, Silence going to be used as well, and Puck will just be able to bottle back up once that Shadow Strike debuff does wear off. So this mid lane I think is fully in the grasp of the Puck, going to pick up those boots very early, and unless these Sentinel supports manage to get some solid root control, I mean it doesn't matter because both mid's going to be bottle crawling regardless, but it's still difficult to say if Queen of Pain can get herself back in this lane unless she severely always plays the Puck. Meanwhile, we're going to see a complete rotation. Windrunner probably called for help, said, alright, Storm Spirit has been able to get enough safe lane farm where you can solo the lane up against a Shredder. Shredder only level 3, Storm Spirit will have a level advantage, and now they're going to look to shut down the Drow. So good rotation by Scourge supports, because theoretically Shredder can't really kill the Storm Spirit, especially with Storm Spirit with the level advantage. And a Storm Spirit who does have some tangles will be able to pick up the boot speed relatively soon. And considering these two supports on side, Scourge were able to keep the Shredder so far back because they had range, they had a lot of damage between them. Shredder wasn't able to get those fast levels, so already some good plays by the Scourge. And I do have to give the Scourge a slight advantage in the early game, but if Drow is smart, she'll rush the BKB instead of going for the Authorized Edge, but this is Filipino Drow, so, I mean, I'm not going to she's still probably very smart, it's just I think Filipino's a bit too ingrained in the item build, but we're going to see a gank on mid, Spirit Breaker actually charge in, and then this roaming Spirit Breaker gonna kill out the Puck. Puck probably used the phase shift a bit prematurely, couldn't dodge a stun. And now this lane fully swings back in favor of the Queen of Pain, who managed to pick up a second kill. Fortunately, couldn't see. Yeah, Queen of Pain picked up the kill, and now Queen of Pain can start to get her mojo rolling. As meanwhile, the Shredder going to be able to dodge the Static Remnant for now. Didn't dodge the Overload, of course, but Storm Spirit going to pick up bottle as well as boots. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, might be a bit of engagement. Spirit Breaker does have the highest effective base HP pool in the game, and this is 678 Spirit Breaker, so he doesn't have that ridiculously long casting point on the ultimate, has a bit lower base attack time, so a very strong hero still. Meanwhile, the Sentinel do have a stack on the pull, but we'll see if they can exploit that. But the worry is if they do try to do that, Drow could potentially be hunted down. Shaodoon does not have boots, which is unfortunate. Neither does Eventual Spirit, so Drow, if she just watches her positioning, shouldn't really be in too much trouble. And again, this patch is not too conducive for the supports. The Spirit Breaker is going to charge back in. Going to go in the top lane, as Storm Spirit is level 6, does have barely enough mana to ball out of there, and now he knows fully that the Spirit Breaker is coming. But Spirit Breaker might just continue to die of this. He does not have boots, as Spirit Breaker going to go in the storm. He's going to immediately back off. Storm Spirit actually is the remnant of the mana, and the double courier is going to come in. They will be able to refill the bottle, as that was a bit of a weird dive by the Spirit Breaker. But a bit of a weirder play by the Storm Spirit. You saw the Spirit Breaker coming from such a long way, but this is still Dota 1. There's still some weird latency issues, so very unfortunate. Meanwhile, looks like the Jakiro was able to pick off the Venture Spirit. Meanwhile, Puck gonna go in the co-op. Dream Coil is expended, and we'll see if it could stab. Spirit Breaker unfortunately charged back bottom, didn't cancel the charge, and Puck picks up that kill. Now Puck is in the advantage because she picked up a high experience kill, level 7, and already had the boots, but meanwhile Windrunner will most certainly die. Already used Windrun. Couple arrows will spell the end of the hero, and that is going to be a very nice kill for the Drow. Already Tread, so is farming relatively well, and will probably pick up a Dominator into Lothar's Edge if my Filipino Drow builds are right on the money, which they should be. I mean, Filipino Drow builds are pretty static for the most part. So, not too sure who's favoring this early game, but I think Sentinel Scourge willing to be crushing this early game because Shredder does so much burst damage, and these two supports, the Shadow Demon as well as the Venture Spirit, will get shredded alive because they're not getting too much experience. Windrunner, really not that tanky either, and they really this fast mech up against the Shredder, but Storm Spirit, the question I think goes on the Storm Spirit. Will he play aggressively or will he just sit back and farm? Both options are definitely viable because Storm Spirit does want to rush that Orchid ASAP. But I think if they want to get themselves a nice early game cushion, because after the Shadow Blade, or after the Lothar's Edge, Drow will definitely go for BKB. So, I'm not too sure. Scourge, I think they need to put on a bit more pressure, but right now they don't have the levels. They're going to get a level 4 Vengeful Spirit, and these supports are going to need the boots. They need to get the setup on the Drow, they need to follow the Storm Spirit initiations, and once they get that, Shadow Demon and Vengeful Spirit, very potent lane combination duo, as they're going to spot out the Shredder. Shredder knows something's up. He knows the sports are missing, but going to pop the Chakram. And now Shredder, will he get spotted out? The trees have already been cut down to a certain extent, but the Wave of Terror animation was definitely scouted. And Shadow without boots, really not the best supporting initiation. Storm Spirit should have potentially jumped, but I don't think he saw where the Shredder actually was, so didn't want to waste mana unnecessarily. And that is a gank dodged. Looks like the Ice Path just barely managed to clip that Dota 1 Ice Path animation. Very, very deceptive. And Drought already level 8, going to pick up the Helmet Dominator, and she is already pumping out 140 damage. Such a ridiculous amount of damage at this stage in the game. Really cannot be underestimated. And Windrunner, she doesn't have that 625 range, or she doesn't have the 650 draw range, so she really can't stand up. You know, in the mid lane, the Illusion Rune is going to give Queen of Pain some semblance of control. Puck going to go for Treads. Queen of Pain going to pick up Treads at around the same time, but Puck did pick up 2 teleport scrolls, whereas Queen of Pain doesn't have any. Dream Coil would have used, and the Silence going to follow up. Nice targeting. They saw that the Illusions took a bit more damage from the Dream Coil, and they managed to get this easy kill on the Quap, identifying which Quap was the real one. You know, Shredder trying to do whatever she can to the Storm Spirit. Gotta see a charging Spirit Breaker, and I don't think the Spirit Breaker was caught this time, but Storm does have full mana. He should be able to dodge this charge. The Vengeful Spirit did spot the Spirit Breaker. Spirit Breaker can cancel the charge. I think they saw the man Storm Spirit, and they decided to back the heck out of there. You know, Shredder does have some reactive armor, so he will be A-okay. Nothing that the Vengeful Spirit can do with the Storm Spirit. But now with the Shouty and rotating in, this could potentially be a huge issue for the Scourge. But we're going to see a counter rotation in by the Queen of Pain, who is definitely smarting. She does have the Treads finished, and she does have the Sonic Wave online, so they want to make something happen. We're going to see Shredder driving in for the Storm. Here comes the Magic Missile. We'll be able to stack the Disable. Soul Catcher going to be a one dead Shredder. Looks like Starster going to die to the Queen of Pain Sonic Wave, as well as the Scream of Pain. Meanwhile, Queen of Pain will be able to bottle up. No, Vengeful Spirit picks up another kill, and Spirit Breaker, surprisingly, was not choosing the auto attack. Oh, he doesn't have boost speed. He can't effectively trade hits against a Vengeful Spirit. But Haste and Jakiro going to come in, going to back up the Spirit Breaker. Spirit Breaker should be tanky enough where he can survive a couple more hits, but Puck, with those boost speed, just going to chase him down to the ends of the earth. Will the charge cool down fast enough for the Spirit Breaker to actually escape? He's going to get silenced. I think they're sensing that the charge will come up relatively soon. Here comes the charge. The question is, where will he charge to? He doesn't have a TP. Where will he charge? He's going to charge. He's going to break the charge. And Puck is still on the hunt. Will he be able to catch out the Spirit Breaker? No, he won't, but meanwhile, Drought going to die. Storm Spirit initiating with the Windrunner. Very smart counter gank, as this Storm Spirit did die, but immediately rotated to the bottom lane. Got a very easy kill. Did have to waste all his mana for the most part, but still a kill on the Drow, considering she is going to go for the Helmet Diamond, rushing the BKB. Pretty much secured, and a very necessary kill. You know, Electric Vortex on the Quap, but the Scream of Pain will finish up the deal. Storm Spirit, unfortunately for him, does not have enough mana where he can chase down the Queen of Pain, and is going to actually have to back up. He's running out of mana, but the ball comes back in. Stun comes in from the Vengeful Spirit. Helps secure that kill, so this Queen of Pain having a lot of problems very early on, just not choosing to back out when she should. I mean, in this early engage, she did trade her life for a Safe Flame Storm Spirit, which is arguably worth it, but Puck has not died in a while, so these ganks definitely taking into effect for the Sentinel, because your mid-soul going to have to bridge the gap into the late game, or bridge the gap into the mid game, especially with such a squishy carry like Drow, who is going to rush that Lothar's Edge ASAP, wants to get the survivability rather than finishing the Dominator. Then probably will finish the Dominator, then might pick up a Yasha. I don't know why Filipino Drows don't rush the BKB, especially in this game where all the damage coming from the Scourge is magical. But instead she's going to go for a bit more of a passive build. This is not a fighting build, she's just want to sit back and farm up, and I can't really blame her, because even if she picks up BKB, the heroes who can get in her face means her damage will just be severely reduced. Now Shredder level 8, here comes the Zip. Will they have enough follow-up damage? Oh, so much damage coming in onto the Shredder. Burst damage is definitely Shredder's downfall, because not many ticks of reactive armor are going to come in. But he is going to regen up with the bottle, and here comes the counter gank. Shredder, Spirit Breaker going to cancel the charge. Storm Spirit finished one Oblivion Staff, but didn't have enough mana so he can continue the chase. It's just still bottle crowing. And interesting enough, they're going to use the empty bottle rather than leaving one charge, as people usually do it in the off lane. You know, Jakiro going to fire out, going to try to hit that level 6, has the boots, and Vengeful Spirit going to do the same, but Vengeful Spirit's level 7, has some wards, has a smoke, has that max level magic missile, which is 325 damage, I think. Such a ridiculous amount of damage at this stage. Means one magic as well, and anybody inside Sentinel is dead, aside from the Spirit Breaker and the Shredder. But Soul Catcher going to prevent the onslaught of the Spirit Breaker for now. Soul Catcher, oh, Disruption Soul Catcher combination eats up that Shredder for breakfast, lunch, or eats up that Spirit Breaker even with the highest effective HP in the game. Queen of Pain going to get picked off. Jakiro going to get picked off. Everybody's going to die. Full 5-man rotation. Drow's just forced to sit and farm in the middle lane, but 3 for nothing. And if they push down this tower, this engagement will be more than worth it. Puck actually picked up a Bracer trying to help stop the initiation. I think he was a bit wary of using too many more phase shifts, so wants to have a bit more HP in case Spirit Breaker does charge in, but this should be a very dead tower with the double damage up on the Puck. So this full 5-man rotation, very much worth it for the Scourge, especially if they can pick off this tower, which I think they can. And they will do just that, but Drow is going to be split pushing all the while on the mid lane. Going to have to be careful. TPs come in. This Drow could be in a lot of trouble. Stormsphere does not have too much mana where he can just straight up kill the Drow. And now the 5-man rotation, not as worth it, but still very much worth it. And Drow is going to pick up a tower, so relieving some of the pressure for a bit. And this should be a finish Lothar's Edge for the Drow, so she's actually farming remarkably well despite one death. We really haven't seen the Shredder impact. Shredder's such a strong mid-game hero, but there's just so much mobility that Shredder, yeah, he can chase, but oh, Puck. Puck spies Drow. Drow finishes Lothar's, and now they're going to counter-initiate. Do they have points into silence? They are going to get the silence off, but they already starting the Quap. Quap forced to make way to safety. Sonic Wave going to catch 2 brilliant Sonic Wave, but they're going to kill off the Queen of Pain regardless. The question is, can they kill off the Puck? Puck does not have the dagger. He will likely die unless he gets one more orb off. He is going to die right here, right there, as EE, the Jakiro, picks up the Puck. So that is a 3 for 1. Very much worth it for the Sentinel. That Lothar's Edge came in at the perfect time for the Drow Ranger, as without that she would have probably died to the initial onslaught of the Puck and the supports that were backing up, but they weren't expecting that. They didn't have detection. They got punished, and meanwhile Windrunner going to get chased down. Windrunner going to get Charge of Darkness. Such a strong anti-Windrunner hero, as, well, Windrunner dies to the burst damage. We're going to see one teleport come in. He might have to cancel it. He's going to do just that. Bit of a waste of a TP, and this tower will die. The pushing power of Drow is so strong in the early game. That's pretty much unmatched, but Storm Spirit does kill off the Spirit Breaker, has no more mana, has 7 wand charges, has to ball right out of there. Soul Catcher going to be used onto the Shredder. Shredder got to be very careful. Defensive Disruption going to be used on Shoudian for preserving his own life, but Drow did already kill off the tower, so that was a Shredder for nothing. Good exchange for the Sentinel, and all the while Queen of Pain's going to be pushing down the tower. Keep in mind that Precision Aura, or the True Shot Aura, are going to give the Queen of Pain so much extra plus damage at this stage, it's not even funny. So 3 towers being killed off by the Sentinel, and now we see why Drow is such a high value pick in the Filipino scene, because she can do a lot of damage very early on. She's annoying to challenge in the lane for the most part, and if you leave her alone while you take these massive frequent 5v4 fights, Drow can just be pushing all the other lanes with her enormous amount of plus damage. Still, Windrunner going to get caught, Windrunner's going to die, Shadow Strike actually misses, so Windrunner is not going to die. Queen of Pain really not having good go of things, as Queen of Pain, will she push the issue, drops another Scream of Pain, as Shredder is going to come in on the backside. They're going to kill off the Windrunner, but Storm Spirit picks up a rebuttal on the Queen of Pain. The Storm Spirit is still going in on everybody, but Jakiro's here. Storm Spirit trying to ball on out of there. 6 stick charges, Urn going to be used, Storm Spirit going to die. EE, the Jakiro, picks up a double kill, and this is going to be the final tier 1 tower on the map. All the while, Drow is going to be pushing the bottom lane. Puck is going to come in with a Dream Coil. Spirit Breaker, will he snap it? He's going to get silenced. Shredder is going to come in with the Chakram, as Ice Path will be used on the Puck. Puck might very well die right here before he kills off the Spirit Breaker. He will die! SVRES. These team fights, the burst damage being underestimated, and this is not a good start for the Scourge. They really need to be winning these early game engagements. The only bright spot is that Storm Spirit has only died once recently, and that's not even a bright spot because he's still dying. He's losing a lot of momentum. Drow's going to kill another tower, and save's going to be called by SVRS. They are definitely very confident. Drow picks up the Yasha, and he is not going to go for the BK. You can't really blame him because he's not really under any pressure. The map control is on his side fully. Spirit Breaker can automatically make an engagement even if it's a disfavorable engagement, as long as you wait a bit. And that aggressive Observer Ward gonna spot out the Spirit Breaker charging in. Dual Breath going to be used, Ice Path going to be used. Magic Spirit will be able to get off a stun, but this is, again, the highest base effective HP hero in the game at level 1. Nice disruption, dodging another strike, but Queen of Pain going to come in, this Windrunner, really having no effects, going to die to the Shadow Strike. Storm Spirit will pick up another kill, this time onto the Spirit Breaker, but Storm Spirit is using so much mana in these engagements. Will they be able to chase down the Queen of Pain? I think they should. Puck does not have the dagger, so maybe not. They won't be able to get the pull off. Jakiro disguising his retreat. Jakiro does have a decent streak on him, as Jakiro will definitely die. Does run away from the Static Remnant. Queen of Pain clearly toying with the idea of going back in. Does do that, but runs right into an orb. Queen of Pain could not have timed that any worse. What was she doing? I don't even know. But another tier 2 tower being picked up by the Drow, and Drow is going to run right into a Centaur. Venture Spirit spots her out. They thought with the Shredder they could have gotten a favorable engagement, but the Centaur was placed at the exact right time. Beautiful recognition by the Scourge. They saw Drow took the mid tier 2, and they punished her, and that is going to be almost a complete team wipe. It was a full team wipe. Still, 5 towers being taken by the Sentinel, 0 towers being taken by the Scourge, but this should give enough money for the Storm Spirit where he can finish the Orchid, and Orchid Storm Spirit can now go for solo kills, even on the Quap. So the Sentinels still have a clear advantage, but the Scourge is starting to pull away in terms of experience on their most valued heroes, and if Puck picks up a dagger, Puck should theoretically be immortal. I mean, unless Phase Shift does not work. But he has level 14, so he has that max level Phase Shift online. So he can just phase blink out of any scenario as long as he doesn't use the blink too aggressively, which is Filipino Dota, so they're going to use the blink aggressively. Spirit are going to rush the BKB, a smart choice. Mech has already been finished on Jakiro because of the tower kill gold. Queen of Pain. Oh my god, is she going to go for a Dagon? She might very well do that, as there's going to be a blink in silence. Dead Quap. Solo kill for the Storm. And we'll see what Storm goes for. If he goes for Bloodstone, I can't really honestly blame him, because Filipino Dota, they usually group up as 4 and they split farm with 1. But if they can manage to catch that 1, that is going to be dead hero. Drow not going to finish the Mantis style. Instead, realizes BKB is now a must and is going to get right on her way towards doing that. But yeah, a bit of an odd game, but Sentinel with her 5 towers compared to the 0 towers on the side of Scourge do have a bit of an advantage. Still, the Storm Spirit is starting to become a huge problem. They almost have 2 level 16s. The supports on the side of the Scourge are not too worse for wear either. The lowest level is level 8, and Shadow Demon really doesn't need too many levels, because all he really needs to do is drop his spells and then die. They're going to smoke up. And are they going to actually try to go for a gank on the Spirit Breaker? They do have a Storm Spirit coming in. This might very well be a dead Spirit Breaker, as Puck going to blink away to safety. But now this charge is going to go down onto the Puck, and this gank will come at a very poor time. Puck phase shift dodges, not going to blink away because he didn't have it. Here comes another strike, going to catch the Puck. Will he be able to orb away to safety? No, greater bashes for the win. We're going to see a comeback as Windrunner misses the shackle, going to force Staff away, is slowed down by the Frost Arrow. Now going to start Windrunning, but here comes the Cyclone going to be used. But Storm Spirit with a huge zip that did so much AoE damage, but he's going to get greater bashed. Oh my god, greater bash OPEE. Double kill. Kills off a mega kill streak on the Storm Spirit. So much damage. Much wow. Shredder, Haster, and Drow. Everybody's dead on the Scourge. This will be a tier 3.
Our allies' town needs help. Our warriors have engaged the enemy.
And now the Sentinel are in a very comfortable position. They managed to regain the kill lead. They got so much experience in that team fight. If there's experience graph, it'd be very clearly favoring them. And Drow is going to have the BKB online. Once the Drow gets the BKB, you have to initiate on her. Otherwise, she'll pop the BKB and just go to work. And there's no BKBs on the side of the Scourge. They can't debuff that silence. This Windrunner really just feeding. Can't really do anything. Went for a 4-staff, which I think was the right build, but they don't have a mech. Jakiro has a mech. Jakiro's so strong at this stage. And the Shadow Demon play has not been working out too well for the side of the Scourge. They really need to go for early game ganks the Shadow Demon or for him to pay off, but not working out. Double damage Drow going to try a solo rush. Doesn't have that finish helm with the Dominant, which is unfortunate, but all they need is 1 tank, and they're going to get it with the Jakiro, with the mech, as well as a magic stick, and they're going to be able to kill off Rush in very short order. Shredder going to come in with a Timber Chain, but this Rush is dead. Queen of Pain going to pick up the Aegis, a smart choice, since Drow will have the BKB finished very, very soon, I've got to imagine. double BKB coming in for the Sentinel, one for the Spirit Breaker, one for the Drow. And this might be the start of a GG push. They know they could sit back and farm. I think they still have the better late game because they do have, you know, a Drow hard carry where the Scourge have a Storm Spirit carry. But the Storm Spirit targets are just so tanky, they survive for so long that might not be the best late game carry. But now they know 777 HP Shadow Demon. Puck, once he drops a spell, can't really stick around to fight, which is usually the best part of Puck because he can survive for such a long time. Those right clicks do add up in a team fight, especially the Vengeful Spirit or buffing it up. 144 damage. Considering how long Puck can survive, definitely can't be underestimated, but Blink, Swap, BKB, nothing the Sentinel can do, can't even drop a magic missile, Nether Strike can be popped, defensive disruption just for the Storm Spirit, still gonna get blown up. The Storm Spirit reflexes, not the best, but I don't think there was much he could have done anyway. SVRES, are they gonna finish up iDeal.Gigabyte? iDeal.Gigabyte is a Thai team, so it's just gonna be some Cambodian on Thai violence here. So the Filipino fans still can be proud. But SCRS is going to take the middle barracks. This should be a GG. There's honestly... No, there's nothing the Scourge can do. They don't have buyback on anybody. And even if they did buyback, they just die. This is GG. Wow. The shortest Dota 1 game I've cast in a long time. AP remake. 26-20. Of course, it's going to almost have 50 kills even in 25 minutes. Because this is Southeast Asian Dota 1. And this is why you gotta love it. Non-stop action all the time, every time, no farming, fuck farming. But a good job by the Sentinel. All I need to do is hold on, and they held on. And not only did they hold on, they took some very good engagements. They said, fight your 4 with us 4. We have a very strong Jakiro at this stage. Ice Path Macropyre did so much damage. Spirit Breaker is such a strong frontline tank, and we have a lot of burst damage coming from the Quap and Shredder. We can fight you 4v5, because once Storm Spirit balls in, you might not even have the damage to kill one hero, unless you drop a Soul Catcher. So you're forced to use Shadow Demon and a Storm Spirit on one hero, and then we follow up with all our AoE damage, and even if you kill us, we have Drow split pushing all your other lanes. So really good game plan by the Scourge, or by the Sentinel. They punish the Scourge so heavily for all their engagements, and when Scourge finally started to falter, Sentinel punished them even harder. What more can I say? GG is going to be called relatively soon. This is just an absolute massacre. Brilliant play by Sentinel. But could they translate that into more victories? I don't know. I don't think they actually made the playoffs, so I've got to imagine this is a group stage match. Or if they made the playoffs, they might have been one and done. But again, second last Dota 1 match that I will cast from this tournament. One more Dota 1 match to go. Hopefully enjoy this game. This is GG. All over for the Scourge. And I don't think iDeal.Gigabyte made it to the playoffs either. They went for something cute. They went for a Storm Spirit safe lane farm. It worked out well for a bit. The other heroes just need a bit too much while the rest of the team... If you just think about it for a sec, which I will pause at the end. Hopefully... No, the final score screen doesn't come down because there's no observer slot, but let's just think about the strategy. Because I've already talked about the 4v5 mentality, but if you just think about the picks, Storm Spirit needs something, because he's just going to be one and done. He's going to use all his mana killing one hero. Puck needs a bit. He needs Blink Dagger, probably. And he got it at, 17, 18 minutes, which is not the worst timing, but not a good timing either. Windrunner needs to not die so much. But if you just think about the picks, all of these heroes outside of Vengeful Shadow Demon need to do something, and Vengeful Shadow Demon can't roam the entire map because these heroes are reasonably mobile and they have an ice path to back up their retreat. So all these heroes need something. So that gave Sentinel enough time to actually get some levels, which they need to fight the 4v5 in the mid game, And once they got the lowest to fight the 45 in the mid game, then it goes back to what I said. Shadow Demon Storm are pretty much used for one hero, Vengeful Spirit, and well, Winter really didn't do much. Well, Vengeful Spirit and Puck don't have enough burst damage. They need to kill one or two, and then that just leaves one more. As Shredder Quap gonna come in, do so much damage, and even if they die, well, they die. Who cares? Draw still pushing out the lanes. They did the damage. They did their job. Not much more to be said. So good strategy by the Sentinel. Good play. And Scourge, they just picked not a good lineup. That was just, this draft doesn't really make much sense. So hopefully you enjoy that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.